told that there is very less time, so I'm just going to keep it short and try and keep the session engaging as much as possible. If you have any questions, feel free to post them right after the session. So, and I'm going to ask some questions just to make sure you're awake. So keep yourself, and we're going to announce some prizes as well. I'm just kidding. So this is a very interesting topic, right? Employee risk mitigation. We're all talking about, so there is a $800 billion problem of employee risk, right? So there's a huge amount of money if you really think about it, right? So how are we going to mitigate that risk becomes a question. As HR professionals, you play a vital role in mitigating the risk that happens out of the human capital that we are all engaged in. So, Rashmi, so what do you think about this risk of employees or the human risk? What is your opinion on that?
It's a relevant question, Sudhakar, and we all have been facing the employee risk across. I come from a financial organization, and we all are moving towards a digital, very interconnected world where any kind of leak of information, any click of a button, and everything gets snowballed into a high risk. For me, for example, if an employee erroneously approves a loan, that snowballs into not just a compliance issue, it also leads to a financial risk, it leads to a reputational risk, a social risk, and ultimately economic risk. Uh, a new candidate goes rogue and decides not to join us, or probably for whatever reason, whatever experience he or she might have had, and talks to the social media negatively about us. There's a huge brand loss, and the balance that organization tries to maintain by doing all its hard work goes for a toss. So it's a huge loss, and I think it's high time that we start focusing on this employee risk management, because it's become a real problem and it's affecting our bottom line. So yeah, that's very important.
That's very interesting. So especially from a financial world, I think that's a very important point that we have to look at. Remote working has added up a lot of other things, and I'm sure a lot of your companies have remote working as one of the problems, or you can call it a solution or a problem, however you look at it, if you look. So what would be, what are the kinds of risks that are faced, Sharmila, in terms of remote working?
All right, firstly, good afternoon, everyone. We're talking about threats, security, post-lunch. So we'll make it a little light and positive. So from a remote working point of view, how the security get breached, especially when you do not have visibility from where your employees are working. They could be working on with multiple organizations using different laptops. We don't have a visibility. You have visibility only towards the systems that are connected to your office network. So beyond that, we don't have a visibility. So it continues to be a legitimate industry-wide problem. But if you are a manager who's managing the team member who's working remote, then the onus lies a lot on the manager to make sure that your team members are fully occupied for 8 hours at least, if not less. But I also look at slightly positive side of that. How do you manage your employees and employees' productivity in the remote environment? And what can get compromised? The serious threat is the IP threat. So I represent a technology company. It's a semiconductor company, Micron Technology. That's where we see that as a threat, but we also have an opportunity. How do you make your employees productive while they are remote? And what they're missing is the collaboration tool. You have Microsoft Viva tool, which tells you how to manage your own day, manage your own meetings. Then Zoom has new features which allows you to schedule your meetings 5 minutes late. If you're working from home, we cannot assume that. Yeah, if you're working from home, we cannot assume that you could be just jumping from one meeting to another meeting. So there is a 5-minute lag. Instead of scheduling your meeting at 3:30, Zoom allows you to schedule a meeting at 3:35. So those are, new opportunities which helps you to manage your work-life balance. And the new environment, now I think it's a very great opportunity, and I think pandemic has really offered us that you can really manage your organization through hybrid work environment, and that's what we are offering as a company. We are not very high on remote because ours is an engineering center. It requires the engineers to come and access labs, which cannot happen in the remote setup. But however, we are making sure that end user stays productive. We have created a setup at home, which is office setup, which is office-like setup at home. And that's what makes employees very productive while they are either remote or even when they're hybrid.
Apparently, you brought 70% of your workers back to office.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you most wanted HR person in the country now.
All right, so I will take the credit without blinking my eyes. So 70% of our team members work from office, and we've been doing it from the past year and a half. This is essentially, so you can drive this two ways. You make sure that your team members are coming back to office, and once they start coming and experiencing the environment, they don't want to work from office because you find that the collaboration happens much better, and we have opted a hybrid model, which allows you to work for 3 days from office and 2 days remote. So now I come to office for collaboration and innovation, and I work from home when I want to do my own work.
Fabulous. So that's very interesting. So another thing is that when employee leaves the company and when you're hiring new employees, you do background verifications, right? So it takes about 30 days almost and costs close to about 10,000 rupees every time you do a background verification. What is your opinion on background verifications, and how do you manage it yourself in your organization?
Sure. Thank you, Sudhakar. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. So BGV is not sort of a very glamorous term or the space to be in from an entire HR world. Having said that, BGV continues to be the most critical process or a pivotal process in the entire hiring cycle. It continues to be that way. Of course, we all know that that's extremely critical to ensure the business continuity and success. So it's a no-brainer. Now, having said that, if you really look into the current situation from a BGV discrepancies that we get, it's quite concerning because what I understand is it's about 10% that you really see at an industry level. Look at the great resignation phase that we are in. Everybody is in a rush to really have the positions filled. Now, there is a probability of doing a lot more of wrong hiring, right? So BGV is the way to really mitigate that risk. If you really consider from the current situation that we are in, versus what it used to be prior, the BGV as an entire process, it has evolved, right? Where we used to do this in a very manual. Today, people are able to do that in a very digitized form. Technology has, evolved this entire process. So probably 30 to 40 days has come to probably a 15 days or so as we speak. But is this good enough from a future standpoint where obviously there is a lot of cost pressure, time constraint, all sort of challenges that we have. Now, in this particular situation, I think we need to move on. Technology needs to really do a lot more of work in this space. And personally, the way I am visualizing this to happen is like you have the CIBIL score, which is like the most important one today for any of the financial institutions to probably welcome you with a loan offer, etc. Everyone in the job market or as a professional should have I don't know if it is to be called BGV score, but some score which we carry, right? So just imagine, I mean, every one of us carry that score, and it can be basis various parameters, a culmination of all of that. And then you just don't have to really go through this entire cycle of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and a whole lot of stuff. So net, I would believe that while technology is helping the industry to clear the ambiguity, it is also enhancing or increasing the fraud and the fake, right, out there. So it is extremely important, but the way it is done today, it needs to really evolve, and how much organization need to really focus, how much the budget need to be put in. I think that's something which is very critical.
Very innovative thought process. Thank you. Um, so Rashmi, there is another big challenge. I'm sure every one of you here would have faced this problem where, candidate accepts an offer but doesn't join you. You call him up 30 days later, the guy says, I have a notice period of 30 days. 25th day, you call him and ask him, where is he? He's like, sir, I've joined some other company. By the way, when I went and did a survey, apparently it is happening to 54% of candidates accept offer letters. That's like 1 in 2, basically. So what do you think about this trend, and how do you think we can do something about it, at least?
Sure. I think it's one of the burning questions that we all are facing. Prior to pandemic, we were thumping ourselves that we have gone 100% digital, that we are doing all our hiring digitally. We have the score also done. We have met the candidate digitally, and he's also accepted the offer. Little did we realize that the process of the candidate coming to the office and shaking the hand, having a cup of coffee, is creating an emotional bond, which the digital hiring was not doing it. So this employee doesn't have any emotional connect with the offer that is got from an organization where he has not met anybody physically. So there's no emotional connect. It's easy for that person to say no. So when there is no effort, even I was looking up to it. What happened? Because I've been asked, why this great resignation? Why you're not able to hold on to your people? Working in a hybrid model has its own pros, but the cons is that people sitting at home getting frustrated, they are not getting emotionally connected with their colleagues, and then it becomes easier to put in the resignation. And in India, it's all the more painful because there is a notice period of 3 months. This excruciating 90 days let them shop for more offers, more better opportunities, like in Amazon, or Dikhao, better opportunities. So they skip shop for offers, they accept multiple places, and whichever is the best one, they grab it up. On the employer side, it's quite painful because we have invested in that particular candidate heavily. We have built the ecosystem around that person. We have taken the buy-in from the management. The hiring manager is also emotionally invested. The kind of time and effort that is lost for getting that candidate on board is all lost. So it's kind of frustrating, and this number of 54% is quite boggling. So like Bindu said, we need to have something in place where we get to know that person, like a civil score, this person, how that person has been in the past, what kind of track record as in a candidate, how has been he performing, or educational qualification. So we don't have to bother about, is he going to say yes and finally join us, or is going to say, okay, bye, not joining you. So yeah, that's my take on it.
So, I think this is a problem that the industry needs to come along and get together to solve this problem, actually. There are softwares these days to monitor remote employees and, track every activity of theirs. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, of course. What is your opinion, Sharmila, about, about these softwares and these technologies that have come up? What is your take on it?
Yeah, sure. So before I respond to that, I just want to kind of add to what you said about offer decline, and I think industry is experiencing that issue. There are two ways to look at it. One is also demand and supply, because in the last 2 years, many organizations, many multinational organizations, because of the cost pressure, have started to double up their investment in India, and as a result of that, the hiring has spiked from 2020 to 2021, and even in 2022, and lot many startups also kind of set up in the last several months, but yeah, some are not able to survive. We do see here that in the newspaper. So it has some of that element to the points that you made about not having to have an emotional bonding with the organization, and that's also resulting. In fact, to that extent, we are losing maximum number of employees within just about 1 year. People whom we have hired in 2021, they are the first one to leave, and it is because of the point that you made. Now, coming back to your question, Sudhakar, about the software that tracks productivity, and I think it's always been there. It's always been there. It's just that we're talking more about it. As a technology company, the important threat to us is the IP threat. That's the threat that we worry the most about. And now from an employee perspective, you are aware that my Zoom calls are being tracked, my Teams meeting are being tracked by the organization. There is a difference between surveillance and snooping, right? What you're doing is surveillance, which is making sure that your team members are performing their day-to-day job in a very secure environment. You have tools that are helping them to collaborate much better with other team members across the organization, not just limited to your region. And also these softwares are actually helping you. We have something called Mia Chat. It's actually a virtual executive assistant. For instance, if you have raised a ticket about some issue in your organization, let's say you're raising an HR service ticket or you're raising an IT desk ticket, as IT employees. So you have to follow up your ticket. Instead of you following up or somebody acting on the ticket, this particular chat window will actually follow up on your behalf. It will interact with multiple platforms and tell you, hey, you have created a ticket and you need to do this as a next action. So you have something which is following up. You can view that as an employee. Oh, I created a ticket. Why is this chatbot coming and telling me? I mean, I did not see that coming to me, or somebody is tracking my ticket. But it's actually like a virtual assistant, because I'm likely to forget, and it's coming and reminding me. So there are two ways to look at it. I think these softwares and tracking tools are actually making me far more efficient. And if you look at Microsoft Viva, it tells you at the beginning of the day, as soon as you open your inbox, what it tells you is the number of meetings that you have and the meetings that you need to prepare yourself for. It will tell you you have this particular meeting and you need to do the preparation for this meeting. So it's a very good reminder. These are like virtual admin assistant for you to prepare for the day. So I believe it has a lot more positives than the negative connotation about this security software that we're using in every company. I mean, at least in the Micron, we're using that for our benefit. Yeah.
Perfect. Bindu, you have any opinion on this as well, or perfect? So, I think it's a kind of education that needs to happen, letting them know that this is there to make sure that we're all on track. And this is not actually snooping. This is actually just making it an assistant. That's a fantastic way to educate employees, to let them know this is there to help them in reality. A little bit off topic, but I thought it will be interesting for the HR community here. What do you think about the new labor codes that are being proposed by the government? People have to be paid within 2 days. There is a whole bunch of other stuff that the HR fraternity here are worried about, and how it is going to impact their organization, their budgets, and so on and so forth. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, very important question. So how many of you here in the room have gone through the new labor code and have sort of tried to understand what it is? Yeah. Okay, good to see a few hands. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not too sure if we are still ready to really call out those list of items that, so as to say that organization need to change, right? Because it's still under discussion, deliberation at various levels. Having said that, what I understand is this is an industry ask and long overdue, so as to say. Now, at this point in time, what each of us can do or organizations can do, I believe, is that we can really look into our HR policies, processes, look into our compensation structure, and how are our compliance practices within the organization. I think it's probably the right time for us to really get into. I also understand that it's going to have certain financial impact to the employer. So, which means as HR folks, it's important that we are few steps ahead compared to our stakeholders to really understand, absorb, so that we can actually drive the stakeholders in this entire process. And I believe that it's not going to be a one shot that we are going to really change everything. It's going to be in a very phase approach, right? And there's a lot of speculation out there, so I really don't want to do it, because as all of you are aware about, while most of the states, they are ready with the rule book, but not everyone. And obviously, it's a decision to go at a country level, yeah? So we need to really wait and watch. My personal opinion on this entire thing is, or what I envisage with this new labor code going around is, there is going to be a paradigm shift, so as to say, between an employee-employer relationship. And why do I think that? That's because this entire labor code is aiming at enhancing the social security of the employee. Which means to say that the salary structure, the PF impact, the working hours, all of that is really going to be impacted. So I think while industry is in a wait and watch mode, at Harman, we have already started working with our consultants to understand how is this probably going to really get implemented, what is the impact, so that we are more ready when things really happens and we have to go with it. And I think it's a great opportunity for the industry to come together and work towards implementation and abiding by the labor laws. That's my perspective.
Thank you very much. I know a lot of these questions were extempo, so we wanted to make sure this panel discussion is not about each one answering each question. I wanted to ask one question so that it becomes much more useful for the audience, is what I try to do over here. So, but thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
I'm throwing it open for any questions that you guys might have. Audience questions? Nobody understood what we spoke? Ah, perfect.
I hope I'm audible, especially to
Yes.
you. Yeah, the question is little out of context because you included that question of wage codes or labor codes. One of the statement you all agreed to was that settling up of F&F creates a financial impact on organization. So what exactly do you mean by that? Because I believe that we can initiate the process a little early. It's all about maturity of the organization. Somebody is leaving on 30th, okay? So the F&F process does not need to start on 30th itself, right? You can start on a month ago. So when we know, one of you said, I think it was you who said that it's in the best interest of employees, then how financial liability is coming on organizations? What's your opinion about it? Because I slightly disagree with that.
So, do you have a specific person that you want to ask this question to?
Any of you can answer.
Does anybody here want to take that question? So basically the question is, where is the financial, if I understand your question, you're asking what is the financial impact when the employee is leaving? Is
And
that
how, with respect to labor code, how this is creating a financial impact on
labor
organization?
code? Oh,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's slightly early that we are discussing, but this is basis, the understanding that I have. So financial impact could be, for example, the change. One of the changes that the new code is proposing is, or that it has, is about the 50%. The basic should be a 50% of the gross salary, right? Which means there is a PF attached to it. So the employer payout is going to be impacted with so today maybe organization structure, it could be a 40%. The basic could be a 40% of the gross. Now, as per the new code, it is going to be a 50%. So you see how the financial impact is going to be. So it may not be from the full and final, but it could be like this. There are various other elements which are interlinked. So unless we get a complete perspective of the labor code and how the respective state government coming up with their rule book and how is industry going to be aligned to it, once we have that holistic picture, then we should be able to. But the financial impact, one of the examples is this. Yeah, did that answer you? Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? I have a gentleman here. We will try and keep the question more towards the employee risk rather than the new job codes, because that was not the main topic of this discussion. It was just a helpful hint that I put in.
No one has asked anything about the risk management, because your session is on risk management.
Okay, perfect.
And we have strategic risk, operational risk, and various other risks in the organization. So what are the risks related to human resources? And do you have any documented risk management plan which includes the risk identification and risk management, analysis and risk management for the human resource?
Yes. Thank you for putting out that question.
Yeah.
We're not calling it a human risk management. We are calling it as a code of conduct, where we specify the irregularities of the employees or the stakeholders who are working within the premises of the organization. And then we have a consequence grid management. So if somebody who has conducted a major irregularity, what is the consequence of it, and how do we deal with that irregularity with respect to that employee who has conducted that irregularity? The consequences also list down the operational, the financial, the business risk. They all listed down, and then we have a disciplinary committee, this is a regular one. So our employee risk management is our code of conduct with respect to human resources. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, just to answer that question in a little bit more detail, if you like. So human risk, for example, simple example, right? A guy accepting multiple offers puts a risk of that project getting delayed, for example, right? Or if a guy is absconding from employment, that project getting delayed. A financial risk in terms of, let's say, for example, the guy committing fraud in moving from one company to the other and then causing that. These are all some of the major risks that are being attributed, if you like, which could be, some of them are very avoidable if you think about it, right? So last question, anybody else with the last question? That gentleman over here.
My question is for Sarmila Khan, madam. Myself, Dr. Rath from MMDU Ambala. In a company, we understand a campus lead is a very important position, connecting with university and colleges. If you see in a year's time, multiple people holding that position, does it risk the value of the organization?
Sorry, could you repeat the last thing?
Does it risk the image and value of the organization and its connect with universities and colleges?
I'll try to paraphrase your question. Your question is about campus hiring?
My question is, campus lead is a very important position in any organization, be it in Micron also. If you have multiple
What
people,
position? Sorry,
campus
what?
head,
You mean campus hiring?
campus
Did you
hiring
say
and
campus
campus
hiring?
head.
Got it.
And in an organization like Micron, if you have 3 campus leads in a year's time, connecting with colleges and campuses, would that not risk the image of that company and connecting with the college and universities?
So I'll try to respond to your question.
It's a case study in your organization.
Yeah, so I'll try my best. All right, so we do have a campus program, just like any other organization, and we hire from 25 odd colleges. Micron Technology is a 40-year-old company, but our setup, our operations in India are just about 3.5 years old. We are 3,000 team members between 2 locations in Hyderabad and Bangalore, giving you the context so that you can relate to the response. So we do the campus hiring. We hire from tier 1 universities, all the IITs and BITS Pilani, and then we have tier 2, and then we have tier 3. And the reason why we have it, because each businesses require different skills and different caliber. So we actually have something called URAM, which is University Relationship Alliance at Micron. Under this umbrella, we have 25 colleges who have partnered with us. And with some universities, we actually do active incubation work in the research area. We, in fact, hire some PhDs from these universities. And with some, our relationship is with respect to hiring. With some, our relationship is with respect to the research. So campus hiring, if you look at any global GCC, any GCC in India which is operating, their strategy is very much tied to your university hiring because of the maturity of the market, the demand of scaling your operations in India. So campus hiring will continue to be our strategic focus, and as we speak, even though we are relatively small as compared to our competitors, we are looking to hire 350 people from different universities between BTech, MTech, and PhDs. Does that answer your question, or your question had a deeper
I think so.
perspective?
I think we got to.
So we are up on time, sir.
So just to wrap it up, thank you very much. So by the way, just to introduce ourselves, Trust, I run a company called TRST Score or Trust Score. Trust Score is basically the world's first employee risk mitigation company. So what it does is it creates like a CIBIL score, like everyone pointed out. We create a score for each and every person, and that person gets that score and it carries them through the lifetime. So if the data is provided by the company. So let's say, for example, I join your company, I get 1,000 points. And if the company reports anything adversely, it'll keep affecting the score. And that becomes a background verification for the next company. So that way, the guy is not able to commit a fraud or abscond from employment and anything else and get away with it, ultimately. So we're trying to solve this problem. We are coming together. We're creating a community platform for all of you to come together to solve this problem. We have a stall outside. If at all you need anything, please do visit us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, panelists. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.